Welcome to our 2024 Yom Hashoah commemoration. I'd like to ask you to please turn off your cell phones and refrain from applauding during the commemoration. The musical piece that we're about to listen to was composed in the Theresienstadt ghetto. This is the sole surviving work of the young Austrian composer, pianist, and cellist Robert Dober. This musical piece and the descriptions of the other musical pieces that you'll be hearing tonight will be available in the program booklet for you.
"79 years ago, hundreds of thousands of Jews from many countries and cultures, the ones known as the luckiest of a mass, survived the largest mass genocide of the 20th century. Those who survived were forced not only to rebuild their lives and their families after having lost so much, but they were also tasked with the responsibility to convey a message that has become ever so important in today's climate, the message of never again. My name is Ruth Najman. I am the daughter of the late Eda Klamka-Browner of Krakow, Poland, and Zygmunt Neumann of Będzin, Poland. Both were fortunate to have survived.
My name is Dan Chalawa, and I'm the grandson of the late Lola Fisher Chalawa of Będzin, Poland, and Sigmund Cholewa of Czeladź, Poland. Both were also fortunate to have survived, and they were fortunate to also have been great friends with Ruth's parents. Nous sommes réunis ce soir dans un contexte très particulier. Nous sommes ici pour commémorer et rendre hommage aux membres de nos familles, aux victimes de la Shoah, à tous ceux dont les noms resteront à jamais gravés dans nos mémoires. Pour la première fois de notre histoire récente, nous nous réunissons non seulement pour nous souvenir, mais aussi pour dénoncer la rhétorique antisémite qui sévit et défendre solidairement le droit d'Israël et à l'existence.
Tonight, even if just for a few moments, we would like to ask everyone to take a brief pause from the propaganda that we've been experiencing worldwide. Around the world, the Jewish community has come together from the four corners of the world to engage in the fight against anti-Semitism and stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Israel. While this is at the heart and soul of our diverse Jewish community, our rich history plays a key role in pursuing our fight against anti-Semitism and brings forward the theme of tonight's commemoration.
We have a unique privilege tonight to be joined by our candlelighters, Ladislav Stark from Slovakia, who survived the Sered labor camp and was liberated from Theresienstadt.
Isaac Sadaka from Iraq was in hiding during the Farhud.
Sonia and Henry Langbert, who were from Poland. Sonia was born in a labor camp in Siberia. Her parents escaped from Warsaw. Harry fled to the Soviet Union with his parents, and they were deported to Siberia after being picked up by the KGB.
Isaac Dahan from Casablanca was kicked out of his high school and witnessed the bombings of the Casablanca harbor during the naval battle in November 1942.
Sarah Bauer, born in Antwerp, was hidden in a convent.
Eva Shainblum from Romania survived Auschwitz and was transferred to two smaller labor camps before being liberated.
You see, Slovakia, Iraq, Poland, Morocco, Belgium, Romania. L'Holocauste a touché les communautés juives de tous les pays, ashkénazes, séfarades, Mizrahi, laïcs, orthodoxes, hassidiques, riches, pauvres, bouddhistes, communistes, socialistes, libéraux. Ils ont tous connu le même destin. Le régime nazi a suivi un plan systématique visant à annihiler le peuple juif et il a échoué. Nous voici aujourd'hui plus forts, plus unis et plus déterminés. As we take these moments to remember our culturally rich and diverse history, we take pride as a community in what we have built together, in the generations that are hundreds of thousands of survivors built from the ashes of their past. We take pride in knowing that the future remains in the hands of the promise that our survivor generation has been keeping alive and must continue to be passed down from generation to generation.
We must never again know the horrors of the Holocaust. We must never again know the loss of our friends, family members, loved ones, and community members. We should never have to tell new stories of resilience and survival, for our history has taught us enough. Je voudrais introduire l'honorable Jacques Saada, président du conseil d'administration du Musée de l'Holocauste Montréal.
Mesdames et messieurs les survivants, mesdames et messieurs les dignitaires, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, merci à Dan et à Ruth, merci à l'équipe de Daniel Amar du musée d'avoir organisé une activité comme celle-ci, à ce moment-ci en particulier. For 7 months now, we have been living in a world gone mad, a world turned upside down and inside out, a world where the victim is considered the aggressor, while the aggressor is portrayed as a victim, a world where women praise Hamas, who enslave them, a world where LGBTQ communities praise Hamas, who sentence them to death, where young people praise Hamas, who promise them a bright future back to the Middle Ages, a world where history is reinvented, a world ruled by fiction, a world where democracies are booed and dictatorships chanted, a world where homeless camps are dismantled but illegal camps on university campuses are tolerated. This is a world gone crazy in which tonight we commemorate Yom Hashoah. Nous avons parmi nous plus de 60 dignitaires. Ils ne m'en voudront pas de ne pas tous les nommer. Je les remercie très chaleureusement de leur présence dans ces temps particulièrement difficiles pour notre communauté. On me permettra cependant de souligner à quel point, dans ce contexte où explose un antisémitisme très inquiétant, le soutien de nos gouvernements est précieux. I want to thank our federal and provincial governments for their magnificent support to our community and for their contribution to our new museum. So thank you, Minister Pablo Rodriguez, for advocating so passionately and efficiently for our cause in Ottawa. Merci aux ministres Pascal Derry, Christopher Skiddy et Benoît Charette pour votre amitié et votre défense inconditionnelle de notre communauté. Merci à tous les députés provinciaux et fédéraux qui nous font l'honneur de leur présence et qui nous soutiennent jour après jour. And to Mayor Valerie Plante, and all those who at City Hall have consistently and unequivocally condemned the anti-Semitic flares which have plagued Montreal over the last few months. Thank you. Il y a quelques semaines, avec ma femme Nicole et mes enfants Jessica, Jérémy, Jordana et Jacob, nous sommes allés en Pologne. Nous avons visité les ghettos de Varsovie, de Cracovie et de Scherps, la ville natale de la maman de Nicole. Et nous avons fait le pèlerinage d'Auschwitz-Birkenau. Auschwitz. Comme nous approchions du fronton de l'entrée, un groupe de jeunes portant kippa et enveloppés de drapeaux israéliens sortait en psalmodiant une prière, une lamentation, comme une supplication. Instantanément, nos gorges se sont nouées. Les larmes nous sont montées aux yeux. Une immense tristesse nous a déchiré l'âme. Je m'imaginais les suppliciés, psalmodiant les mêmes paroles, alors même qu'on les conduisait à la mort. Mais en même temps, ces jeunes illustraient l'espoir, la résilience, le renouveau. As we were walking from one barrack to another, I suddenly heard a voice whispering in my ear. Jacques, do you really want to feel what it was like back then? Let me be your guide. Let me tell you how it actually felt. And the voice continued. As you walk down these alleys, you are surrounded with silence, only interrupted by a breeze murmuring in your ears or the stones gently rolling under your running shoes. as I walked the same alleys, I could not hear the murmurs of the breeze because of the soldiers shouting and the dogs barking and the children crying and the boots brutally beating the ground. While I was trying to picture those words, I didn't notice the voice had stopped. Birkenau. The whispering voice again. Jacques, you're now about to visit the building that I was forced to enter. I know it's rather dim in here, but soon you will see again the light of day, and you will take a deep breath of life as you step out in the bright sunshine. But for me, there was no sunshine behind these gray walls. This was a place where I had my last memory of my mother softly singing a lullaby at my bedside. This place was where I would hear the last human voices. This place, this was the place where they suffocated me, the place in which I was forced to leave my last breath behind. After a long silence, as if the voice wanted to let me digest those last words, I heard it again, but this time it wasn't a whisper. The demand was loud and forceful. Do not let anyone say that I died here. I did not die here. They assassinated me here. They assassinated me. But as long as I am remembered, I am not dead. I am still alive through you. Alors, comme le rabbin Daniel Farry l'a écrit dans sa lettre aux derniers survivants, j'ai répondu à la voix. Je te promets d'être la mémoire de ta mémoire. Je te promets que ce que tu as enduré ne sera jamais effacé de la conscience humaine. Je te promets cette ultime justice de ne pas laisser ton nom ni ta souffrance disparaître de l'histoire universelle. C'est cette promesse que nous refaisons ici, en cette commémoration de Yom Hashoah ce soir. Yom Hashoah, c'est le rappel de millions d'êtres humains disparus dans le sadisme, la haine et l'avilissement. Depuis presque 8 décennies, année après année, nous rappelons notre engagement solennel. Never again, jamais plus. Et pourtant, le 7 octobre dernier, nous, Juifs, avons vécu la journée la plus sombre, la plus tragique, la plus dévastatrice depuis l'Holocauste. Alors, par respect pour tous ceux que la Shoah nous a enlevés, par respect pour les victimes du 7 octobre, par compassion pour ces otages qui croupissent encore dans les tunnels du Hamas, nous devons dénoncer avec une force renouvelée, avec une énergie décuplée, ces barbares qui nient l'Holocauste et hurlent à l'élimination des Juifs, ceux qui appellent à la destruction d'Israël. Nous devons attaquer de front les ambitions génocidaires du régime iranien et de ses mandataires. Nous devons soutenir Israël. Le musée continuera d'agir et de se mobiliser face à ceux qui attaquent nos synagogues et nos écoles, occupent nos universités et cherchent à nous intimider, face à tous ceux qui cherchent à nous museler, à nous priver de notre liberté de parole ou d'action, à nous priver de notre droit d'exister, face à ceux qui, par ignorance ou non, réinventent l'histoire du monde en effaçant la nôtre et se convainquent de leurs propres mirages et de leurs propres illusions. Whether you are nostalgic of the far right or an activist on the far left, a proponent of a distorted wokeism, or a supporter of a brutal medieval Islamism, whatever the pretext for your repugnant anti-Semitism, you will not silence us. We shall not let you silence us. Because that's a promise we made to 6 million people, 6 million of us that were assassinated simply because they were Jewish. Because that is a promise that we're making today to the victims of October 7th and their loved ones. Au risque d'être accusé de naïveté. Je crois qu'un jour, un État palestinien naîtra aux côtés d'Israël, que l'Iran sera libéré de ces mollahs et de leur mission destructrice et que la population iranienne aura repris les contrôles de son peuple. Cette guerre se terminera, mais pas l'antisémitisme. Il se renouvellera, comme il le fait depuis des millénaires. Il se trouvera simplement de nouveaux prétextes. Et nous les combattrons, peu importe. Never again. That is what motivates us every single day at the museum. That is what we will be able to strive for on a much larger scale in our new museum. And to those who want to extol the virtues of humanity and decency, to those who value life and dignity, to those whose history is also plagued with genocide, to those who want to learn from history so that for them too, never again means never again, I say, our tent is your tent. Our home is your home. Our cause is your cause. You are not alone. We are not alone. Because for you and for us, never again is not and will never be an empty slogan. It is the expression of our determination, our resilience, and our hope. Am Israel Chai.
I'd like to introduce the Consul General of Israel, Paul Hirschin, to say a few words.
Avant de commencer, je dois dire merci les ministres du gouvernement de Québec qui sont ici avec nous aujourd'hui. Together with the President of the United States of America, nos meilleurs amis en Amérique du Nord. Merci que vous êtes venus. Never again has never been more now than now. I've lived in 7 countries and many cities more than that. While 2 of them, the United Arab Emirates and Senegal, both Muslim countries, didn't have Jewish communities, neither in those 2 nor any of the other countries I've lived at any point in my life did I encounter anti-Semitism. Until now, until Montreal. But to be fair, I never saw or sensed anti-Semitism in Montreal before October 7th. And to be fair, some of what we see here, in some cases worse, we're also seeing in the other countries I have lived, specifically England. We in the West, we in Israel, who place at the very core of our discourse the rights and the freedom of the individual, find ourselves up against a school of thought which has elevated suicide to a place in society which amounts to nothing less than the worship of death. We've been there before. We're not going there again. And here we are in Montreal, one of the greatest cities I have discovered, and I've experienced many. You have to understand how upsetting it is for the Consul General of Israel to see very few, but 1 or 2 instances of Jewish organizations, like the Jewish History Museum in Montreal, giving likes to social media posts calling for divestment from Israel. One day I'm going to pack my bags and go home. Globally, this is our problem. Locally, this is yours to resolve. On university campuses, in the arts, the theater, dance, music and beyond, in the media, perhaps in the political discourse, maybe even in business circles. Remember this. It starts with the Jews. It never ends with the Jews. Now is the time to meet the challenge. This city is one of the best I've ever experienced. It's underperforming, and we're all lesser for it. Never again is now. But now is a momentary experience. Very soon it will be in the past. It's really up to all of us as to what kind of memory we're all going to retain of this current moment in history. Thank you.
The first candle will be lit by Ladislav Stark, a survivor, together with his wife Aggie, their children Rochelle and Michael, their daughter-in-law Lindsay, and their grandchildren Adriana, Joseph, and Mila. Ladislav was born in Czechoslovakia in 1941. The family went into hiding but was discovered. Ladislav was liberated from Theresienstadt with his mother, but his father and sisters were killed in concentration camp.
Unter deine weiße Stern streckst du mich deine weiße Hand. Meine Wörter, seine Tränen willen ruhen in dein Hand. Sehest du mein keltigen Blick und ihr Hogon kein Winko seht du schenken ihr zurück und ihr Hogon kein Winko seht du schenken ihr zurück.
Gott getreue, dein Vermehr mir heute, weil es monten mir auf Feuer und in Feuer meine Tee, noch in Kellern und Löcher, wenn die mörderische Ruhe über der Herr und ich such, wo bist du, wo? Läuf ich her, über der Herr und ich such, wo bist du, wo?
Nämen jag mir med skönet von Häufen mit Gewoi. Häng ich auf Platz der Strande und ihr
La deuxième bougie sera allumée par Isaac Sadaka, survivant. Il est accompagné de ses enfants Émile, Amal et Anne, de ses jeunes Solomon et Sam, et de ses petits-enfants Aaron, Adam, Ariel et Natasha. Isaac est né en 1928 à Bagdad, en Irak. Pendant le Faroud, en 1941, Isaac et sa famille doivent se cacher dans son école pour éviter les foules qui s'attaquaient aux Juifs. Il perd un cousin qui est poignardé à mort dans un bus.
My name is Adam Rubin. I'm the rabbi of Shari Zion Bethel congregation here in Montreal. And I want to begin by expressing my profound gratitude to the Montreal Holocaust Museum for inviting me to speak this evening, and in particular to Ruth Najman. Being a relative newcomer to the city, I'm very honored to have been asked to participate in an event that has deep significance for the Jewish community here in Montreal. Before I became a rabbi, I taught modern Jewish history for 12 years as an academic. And I admit that every time I addressed the Shoah in the courses I offered, I dreaded preparing the lectures. The searing pain of the topic, its overwhelming character, never decreased in intensity for me. Despite my hesitations, I did my best to teach university undergraduates about the horrors of the Nazi regime and what our people experienced under their evil reign. It is simply a fact that for many Jews today, the Shoah is perhaps as central, powerful, and important a chapter in Jewish history as the Exodus from Egypt. As Rabbi Avi Killip observes, there is no Judaism, no understanding of Jewish history or culture or theology without accounting for this tragedy. The Shoah is now an anchor of our Jewish story. This part of the Jewish story is now canon. That said, exactly how that story is taught can, of course, change over time. Focuses shift, emphases adjust as historical understanding increases. With that in mind, I'd like to spend just a few minutes with you discussing an aspect of the Shoah that is not very well known: the impact of Nazism and forces allied with Nazism on Jews who lived in North Africa and the Middle East. That is in countries that are predominantly Arab, and in which Islam was and still is the religion of the great majority of the inhabitants. This is important for the obvious reason that it helps us better understand the truth of what took place during the Shoah, but also because there is a vital and flourishing community of Jews here in Montreal from North Africa and the Middle East who have a connection to and experience of the events I will describe this evening, either through family members, friends, or in the case of seniors who were born there, directly and personally. We should begin with an acknowledgement of the obvious. The Shoah was at its murderous worst in places where the Nazi regime and its close allies were physically present. And for the most part, that means the European continent. As Robert Satloff, author of Among the Righteous, Lost Stories from the Holocaust's Long Reach into Arab Lands, writes, though not lead actors in the anti-Jewish drama, the Arabs were in a certain way its Greek chorus. What does Satloff mean by Greek chorus? First, he's referring to collaboration with Nazi forces and the merging of anti-Semitic Nazi propaganda with Islamist fundamentalism in a number of Arab and non-Arab Muslim countries. Second, he's referring to the Vichy occupation of Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia, together with the Italian presence in Libya, which not only introduced Nazi and fascist ideology to the Arab populations of those countries, but also the concrete anti-Jewish persecutions favored by Vichy France and fascist Italy. As we'll see, this process also occurred in pre-state Palestine and in Iraq, but indirectly, since they were not occupied by allies of Germany. Now, if I had more time to speak with you this evening, I'd go into detail about the emergence of the Muslim Brotherhood in the 1930s, the translation of Nazi propaganda into Arabic and its spread, and the leadership of Haj Amin al-Husseini, the Mufti of Jerusalem, and leading figure in the Palestinian national movement in the 1930s and 40s. All contributed to the rise of a particularly virulent form of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism among many in the Arab world. I would also explore how the Germans sought to stir anti-British feelings among those Arabs bridling under British colonial rule by directing their anger against Jewish populations in places like Cairo and Baghdad, who were accused of representing British interests against the pan-Arab national awakening. However, given the short nature of my talk, I'll instead focus on instances of real violence committed against Jewish communities in North Africa and the Middle East during the Second World War. The worst suffering of Jews in Arab lands during this period, by far, was carried out by Vichy France in Algeria and Tunisia, with the direct encouragement and support of Germany. While the defeat of the Wehrmacht by Allied forces in North Africa ensured that there were no mass deportations to death camps, thousands of Jews were nonetheless sent to labor camps, hundreds were executed, and a number of viciously anti-Jewish laws were established in both countries. It's notable that Vichy France tried to impose the same oppressive regime among the Jews of Morocco, but famously, Sultan Mohammed V refused to apply these laws, and as a sign of defiance, insisted on inviting all the rabbis of Morocco to the 1941 throne celebrations. Though he was compelled to sign some anti-Jewish laws regarding housing and employment, he declared, "Just as in the past, the Jews will remain under my protection. I refuse to make any distinction between my subjects." In addition, the importation of Nazi anti-Semitism, a toxic blend of hateful ideology and propaganda, triggered violent anti-Jewish riots in places not controlled by Vichy France during the war, such as Iraq and Egypt, most notoriously the Iraqi Farhud of 1941, in which there was a massacre in Baghdad. Rioters murdered between 150 and 180 Jews and looted some 1,500 stores and homes. As we grapple with the experience of Jews who lived in North Africa and the Middle East during the Second World War, it's vital to remember the complexities of the situation. Nazis considered Arabs just a level above Jews on the purity scale, so to speak. Indeed, in Morocco and Algeria, some Arabs themselves were dispatched to desert concentration camps and drafted into forced labor. It was only their usefulness against the British that attenuated Nazi anti-Arab racial ideology somewhat. Second, many of the Jews' Muslim neighbors and friends, it's important to remember, were sympathetic to them and in a number of cases tried to save them. This is a documented fact regarding the Farhud in Baghdad and many other places. There's always another hand, and on the other hand, we need to come to grips with the obvious fact that the spread of Nazi ideas and in some cases policies through much of North Africa and the Middle East during World War II can't be disconnected from what happened immediately after the war. That is, between 800,000 and 1 million Jews were forcibly expelled from Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Egypt, Yemen, and Tunisia. To take just two examples, Algeria today is home to less than 200 Jews. And in Egypt, and I'm not kidding, I looked this up, there are only 3 Jews who live permanently in the entire country. The theme for this evening's commemoration is one people, one fate. If there's one lesson to be gleaned from my remarks, it's that the Jews of North Africa and the Middle East were hardly immune from the vicious anti-Semitism and anti-Jewish policies that afflicted their brothers and sisters on the European continent. The fact that there was not the same extent of genocidal violence outside of Europe is, one might say, an accident of history. The defeat of the Axis army of Italy and Germany at El Alamein by the British Eighth Army ended the direct threat Nazism posed to Jewish communities throughout the Middle East. However, as I noted, most of those Jews were indeed expelled from the homes their ancestors had lived in for millennia in the decade immediately after World War II. As Israel fights to defeat Hamas now, Hamas, a direct outgrowth of the Muslim Brotherhood, our people are in a sense still dealing with the anti-Jewish ideology that spread throughout the Middle East during the 1930s and 40s, even today. Thank you.
The third candle will be lit by survivors Sonia and Henry Langbert, together with their children Aaron, Michael, and Glenn, and their grandchildren Alicia, Emma, Mia, and Dylan. Harry was born in 1935 in Ulanów, Poland. He and his family survived the war in Soviet Union. After spending a year in a labor camp in Siberia, they were in Tajikistan until the end of the war. Sonia's parents fled from Poland to the east and were deported to a labor camp in 1943, where they remained in Siberia until the end of the war.
The diversity of Jewish communities is a testament to the richness of Jewish life. In North Africa and Europe, Jewish communities have made profound contributions to the societies in which they have lived, enriching their cultural, economic, and scientific landscape for centuries. However diverse these communities may have been before the war, they all shared a similar fate during the Holocaust. Meet 7 survivors from Southern and Eastern Europe who described their journey from the ghettos to the horrors of Auschwitz. Rolanda Donner was born in 1923 in Salonika, Greece. With its Jewish community of 50,000, Salonika was an important center of Sephardi life before World War II. Rolanda's family spoke both Greek and Ladino. In 1941, Salonika was occupied by Nazi Germany.
On nous a mis dans un ghetto avec l'étoile, pas longtemps, parce que les trains nous ont amenés, ça a pris peut-être des semaines jusqu'à Birkenau. Toute ma famille était prise.
Vera Vertes was born in 1928 and grew up in an assimilated Hungarian-speaking Jewish community in a small town in Hungary. When the Germans occupied Hungary in March 1944, all the Jews in her town were concentrated in a ghetto.
When the Germans came in, as probably you know, we had to leave our home. They gave us few hours, and we had to pack the little belonging, and we were sent to the ghetto. And I must tell you that it was so sad that nobody was helping us. Even our best friend, Christian friend, didn't help.
Klára Forrai was born in 1928 in the small town of Gunst, Hungary. A month after the German invasion of Hungary, Klára and her family were forced to move into the Košice ghetto.
After a very short time in the ghetto, where we were placed in Jewish homes, 5 families into a home, we were taken out to a brick factory that was set up right on the railway. And that's where we stayed for about 4 weeks. And on the 26th of May 1944, again we were put on the train.
Sarah Kleinplatz was born in 1924 in Pabianice, Poland. She grew up in a family that spoke both Polish and Yiddish. When the war broke out, the family fled to Lodz and was forced to move into the ghetto.
So when the time came that they started liquidating the ghetto, everybody tried to hide. Everybody tried, so when they emptied our block, we ran to another block. They emptied the other block, we ran to another block. And that was going on for about 3, 4 nights or 6 nights, I don't remember how long. Then we eventually, they caught up with us, the Germans. And they caught us, and they brought us to a train station. And they loaded us into those train trucks. Everybody got assurance that we're going to work, and everybody got half a loaf of bread or something with some jam.
Born in 1911 in Warsaw, Poland, Aline Marzak grew up in a Polish-speaking family. The family spent 2.5 years in the Warsaw Ghetto. During the Warsaw Ghetto uprising, Aline and her mother were hiding in a bunker for weeks.
Les Allemands, ils nous ont découverts. Ils nous ont trouvés. Ils avaient peur de rentrer dans le bunker. Ils ont mis les gaz. J'étais très malade, j'étais intoxiquée. J'étais un des derniers qui l'ont sorti de cette bunker. On nous a déportés ensemble. On a passé quelques jours à ce fameux Umschlagplatz.
Leon Calderon was born in 1926 in Salonika, Greece, and grew up in a Ladino-speaking family. In 1943, after being confined in the ghetto for 2 months, Leon and his family were deported to Auschwitz.
Where it was the station, the railway station, there it was a Jewish community also there. It was many houses in that area, and it was all Jewish people. So they started to evacuate, and 1, 2 transports, 3 transports, till they finish all that area. So, and remain all the houses empty now. We arrived there, so the house it was empty, and everybody took a house, and we entered inside. We stayed there another 2, 3 weeks. It was nearly a time for Passover at that time.
1943.
1943. And it comes the time, they say, okay, everybody on the line. So we go to the station. We go to the station now, and the trains, it was those cattle trains. They were waiting there. So they opened the doors, and they fill it up.
Enzo Camerino was born to Italian-speaking parents in 1928 in Rome, Italy. In 1943, the Germans occupied the northern and central parts of Italy, and within a few weeks, they started rounding up and deporting the Jews of Rome.
the 16th October, 5 o'clock in the morning, somebody knock on the door. My father go open the door. It's one Italian soldier and one German soldier with a piece of paper. He tell prepare suitcase, food, jewelry, money for 8-day trip. He prepared this merchandise, what he tell. He take us downstairs. He got a truck. He waiting for us. He bring it to us to the military academy in Rome. He stayed there for 4 or 5 days. After he bring it to the station, he put in a wagon, you know, the animal wagon.
Cattle car.
Yeah.
We were put in the cattle car on the 26th of May with the German SS talking to us at the railway, telling us to be calm, everything will be all right. And as the train pulled in and we were lined up at the cattle cars, that was supposed to take about 44 people, 86 of us was pushed into a car, and of course there was no room for sitting down. So if we wanted to sit, we had to sit on top of each other. There were babies, there were small children and very old people. It was so dark in the cattle car, the door was locked on us and the window was just about a square foot size. Very little air, and it was very hot in the car. And as soon as we started out, as the train pulled out, children started to scream. They were afraid in the dark, and they were asking for water, and they were asking for food. And there were 2 old men in the car who felt very sick, and they were also begging for water, but there was no water and there was no food. That 2 old men died, and we were traveling with the 2 dead men in the cattle car for the rest of the journey. I think that of all my experiences in Auschwitz or in all the concentration camps, this first experience, the ride to Birkenau, to Auschwitz, was one of the most horrible ones I will always remember.
We arrived toward dusk on some train tracks, and this stopped, and the train stopped, and we looked out. One was pinning on top of the other to look out through those little windows that were with bars, but to see where we are, we didn't know what they're doing. I stood on the shoulders of my sister and looked out, and I saw deep down when it was breaking dawn, I saw thousands and thousands of people kneeling without any hair in some striped uniforms, and somebody was going around with a stick, you know, how do you call those sticks? Baton, and hitting them over the heads. And I said to the others what I see, and they said it must be some kind of an asylum for insane asylum or something, because the screams were terrible. And on one side we heard music playing. Music was playing like anything, and here we hear screams. We didn't know what's doing. Toward the morning, they opened the doors.
We arrived in a place around 12 o'clock at night, and nobody knew where we are. Just they opened the doors, midnight, with lights there, and all of a sudden, they heard some dogs, and they started to shout, "Laus, Laus, 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 Laus."
My grandmother was taken away, and she was crying after me, and she was screaming, "Where are my dear child? Where are my dear child?" And I just heard her scream while 2 SS soldiers was taking her away. And then we went, and I saw so many barracks and so many electric wires, huge fences, and bare, everything was bare, no grass, no nothing. It was a terrifying place to go.
When we came to the washrooms, to the shower rooms, there was one big large hall where we all got undressed, and we were staying in the nude. I didn't know if the showers would let out gas, because from Helmand I knew that instead of water is coming gas, what that Adela told me. And we saw those shower rooms and we didn't know what will come. And we got the showers and they sprayed us with some very sharp disinfectant or something, I don't know, I know it was burning like hell.
Ils nous ont habillés comme ils voulaient. Ils nous ont mis des... Vous savez que les bottes que j'avais, ils m'ont aidé beaucoup à vivre. Parce que des fois il faisait chaud, des fois il y avait la boue là-bas et tout ça. Et après ils nous ont mis des souliers n'importe comment.
Everybody became stranger, because everybody was with the hair and everything. All of a sudden you are without hair. A tall person, he took a short pants or a short jacket, another one long, and so on. So he become transformed. The people, it was so much degrading.
We were not told anything. It was late at night and we were allowed maybe 2 hours to rest, and then we were led out and had to line up and wait for the SS to come and count us. And even then we had no idea where we were, what was going to happen. And after about 3 hours he allowed us to get up and go into the building. And this is when we found out from the girl who was in charge, a Polish Jewish girl of about 21, who could barely walk because her feet were frozen. And she told us that you are in Birkenau, this is an extermination camp, and if you see the smoke, the smell of which we smelled as soon as we got off the train, it was a sickening smell. Those are your fathers and mothers and small sisters and small brothers. This is exactly the words.
All day we felt the smell. This is unbelievable. This was the most dramatic thing. The smell of the burning bodies, of what's going on in the crematoriums and everything. It was just unbelievable, unbelievable. And we were afraid day and night, afraid. We were so scared. We were so scared what's next. I didn't mind dying, but I didn't want to die in a gas chamber. I didn't want to go into a crematorium. If I could do, my little sister, the youngest one, she was begging us, let's go over the wires around were electrified. Let's go over, let's finish it. Let's not wait till they finish it off. And my mother said, no, maybe one of us will have a chance to survive. We can't do it.
Sarah spent a year in a displaced persons camp where she married. The couple immigrated to Canada with their son in 1950 and had 2 more children here. Sarah was a passionate Holocaust educator who believed in the importance of passing on the memory of the genocide. Rolanda spent several years in Paris after the war. There, she met her husband and they had 2 children. The family immigrated to Canada in 1951. Vera returned to Hungary, married a fellow survivor, and had a son. The family fled Hungary during the 1956 revolution and settled in Montreal. Vera and her husband, who could not go to university before the war because he was Jewish, worked hard to support their son in realizing his dream of becoming a doctor. Clara returned to Hungary in 1946. She married and had a daughter. The family fled to Canada in 1956 and settled in Vancouver. As a survivor speaker, Clara shared her story with countless students. Aline Marzak never returned to Poland. After spending time in Sweden, France, and Brazil, she came to Montreal in 1954. After liberation, Leon returned to his native city, Salonika. He immigrated to Montreal in 1955. He eventually set up his own real estate company and started a family. Enzo returned to Rome in 1945 and got married. The couple came to Montreal in 1957 with their son and had a daughter. Enzo opened his own hardware retail store here. He did not dwell on his Holocaust experience, but looked forward in life and had a very positive attitude.
4e bougie sera allumée par Isaac Dahan, survivant. Il est accompagné de ses 2 frères, Meir survivant et Raphaël avec leur femme, de ses enfants, Katia et Serge avec sa femme, et ses petits-enfants, Steve et Tracy avec son mari, et de ses arrière-petits-enfants, Liam, Jonah, Jackson, Jacob et Philippe. Isaac est né en 1925 à Casablanca au Maroc. Il passe la guerre dans sa ville natale où son éducation est interrompue en 1940. Étant juif, il n'a plus le droit d'aller à une école publique.
Le 5e bougie sera allumé par les survivants Sarah Bauer-Zilberberg et Julien Bauer. Ils sont accompagnés par leur fils Ori Eliezer et leur petite-fille Nechama Chaya. Sarah est née en 1938 à Anvers en Belgique. Pendant la guerre, elle est cachée dans un couvent. Julien est né en 1942 à Pau, dans la zone libre en France, où son père est nommé rabbin. En 1943, les sœurs et frères aînés de Julien sont conduits clandestinement en Suisse.
Beryl Safar, born in Kolahava, Czechoslovakia in 1933, murdered in Auschwitz at the age of 13.
Rachel Roditi, née à Tunis en Tunisie en 1891, assassinée à Auschwitz à l'âge de 52 ans.
Ilona Rab, born in Győr, Hungary in 1921, murdered in Auschwitz at the age of 23.
Rosa Lauterman, née à Bruxelles en Belgique en 1930, assassinée à Auschwitz à l'âge de 14 ans.
Sarah Rosenthal, born in Nagyörös, Austria-Hungary in 1899, murdered in Auschwitz at the age of 45.
Ophelia Di Porto, née à Rome en Italie en 1914, assassinée à Auschwitz à l'âge de 30 ans.
Irma van Gelderen, born in Amsterdam, the Netherlands in 1938, murdered in Auschwitz at the age of 4.
Jacques Massarano, né à Thessaloniki dans l'Empire ottoman en 1910, assassiné à Auschwitz à l'âge de 33 ans.
Joseph Krellenbaum, born in Parchev, Poland in 1900, murdered in Treblinka at the age of 42.
Esther Benaïm, née à Oran en Algérie en 1921, assassinée à Mauthausen à l'âge de 22 ans.
Adolf Neumann, born in Naujavarad, Austria-Hungary in 1884, murdered in Auschwitz at the age of 60.
Linda Zouvi, née à Izmir dans l'Empire ottoman en 1912, assassinée à Auschwitz à l'âge de 32 ans.
Benjamin Alcalay, born in Sofia, Bulgaria in 1896, murdered in Auschwitz at the age of 47.
Nessia Russin, née à Dvinsk dans l'Empire russe en 1906, assassinée à Auschwitz à l'âge de 36 ans.
Ivan Schwartz, born in Kapronca, Austria-Hungary in 1898, murdered in Auschwitz at the age of 46.
Aaron Fornis, né à Kalkis en Grèce en 1864, assassiné à Auschwitz à l'âge de 80 ans.
Fela Kupferblum, born in Sandomierz, Poland in 1906, murdered in Treblinka at the age of 36.
Mesoda El Kerabli, né à Casablanca au Maroc en 1923, assassiné à Auschwitz à l'âge de 20 ans.
Tobe Laser, born in Kasha, Austria-Hungary in 1905, murdered in Auschwitz at the age of 39.
Salamon Barou, né à Sarajevo en Yougoslavie en 1921, assassiné à Auschwitz à l'âge de 34 ans.
The sixth candle will be lit by Eva Schoenblum, survivor, together with her children Esther and Mark. Eva was born in 1927 in Oradea Mare, Romania. She was deported in June 1944 to Auschwitz, and she survived several concentration camps. She lost her entire family in the Holocaust.
My name is Rachel Kruger Groper. I am the daughter of Frania Beckerman and Abram Kruger from Warsaw, Poland. I have to agree with Rabbi Rubin. Yom HaShoah is always, always excruciating, and it's especially so in the context of what we're living now. I'd like to ask the survivors to please rise. All survivors, please rise. I need your help to make a promise. We, the survivors, and you can see the wording on the screens, please help me. We, the survivors, entrust the legacy of the Shoah to you, the second generation, and thereafter to all generations. We want you to vow that the sacred memory of our suffering shall never be scorned or erased. We want you to recall the heroism of the many kinds of Jewish resistance. Remember the shining examples of sacrifice and kindness from the righteous Gentiles. Remember the racial prejudice and discrimination which led to the Holocaust. By not forgetting, you will pay tribute to those who were murdered. By not forgetting, you will ensure for those who live and those who are yet to be born that we intend never to allow such cruelty and horror to happen again. This is the heritage we, the survivors, entrust to your custody, for safekeeping for generations to come. I call on the second generation.
My name is Vicky Honigwax-Shizgal. I am the daughter of survivor Leo Honigwax, Zichron Levracha, born in Košice, Czechoslovakia, and survivor Vera Zwiebel Honigwax, born in Budapest, Hungary. Will the second generation please rise and read along with me? We accept, through our parents' memories, words, and silence, we are linked. We dedicate this promise to you who suffered and survived, to our grandparents who perished in the flames, to our vanished brothers and sisters, to all 6 million, never to allow such cruelty and horror to happen again. We accept and promise to keep this sacred memory alive from generation to generation, wherever we may be.
My name is Dan Chalawa, and I'm the grandson of survivors Lola Fisher from Będzin, Poland, and Sigmund Cholewa from Czeladź, Poland. Will the third generation and all those who would like to join them please rise? Que la troisième génération et tous ceux qui souhaitent se joindre à se lever. And if you can, we would kindly ask you to remain standing for the remainder of the program. Nous vous prions, tout le monde qui se peut, de se lever et rester debout. Veuillez s'il vous plaît vous rejoindre à moi. Nous promettons de nous souvenir. Nous promettons d'enseigner à nos enfants de préserver l'esprit juif pour qu'il ne soit pas détruit. Nous promettons de rappeler au monde les profondeurs dans lesquelles l'humanité peut sombrer et les auteurs qui sont atteints même en enfer. Nous devons combattre l'antisémitisme et toutes les formes de racisme dans le monde. Nous ne négligerons pas nos obligations. Nous nous engageons pour l'unité du peuple juif. Nous sommes votre avenir. Oui, nous acceptons. Please remain standing for the remainder of the program, if you can.
אל מלא רחמים שוכן במרומים דיין אלמנות ואבי יתומים המס מנוחה נכונה על כנפי השכינה במעלות קדושים קדושים וטהורים כזוהר הרקיע מאירים ומזהירים לנשמות ששת המיליונים אחינו ואחיותינו רבבות אלפי ישראל אנשים, נשים וטף שנהרגו ושנשחטו שנחנקו ושנשרפו ושנקברו חיים על ידי הנאצים יימח שמם וזכרם ששת המיליונים שהלכו לעולמם על קידוש השם כולם קדושים וטהורים ובהם גאונים וצדיקים ארזי הלבנון ואדירי התורה בעל הרחמים יסתירם בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם בגן עדן בגן עדן תהא מנוחתם אדוני הוא נחלתם יזכור עקדתם ותעמוד לנו לכל ישראל צדקתם ארץ אל תכסה דמם ואל יהי מקום לזעקתם, בזכותם ישובו נדחי ישראל אחוזתם. נגד אדוני יעמדו לגורלם, יבואו בשלום, וינוחו על משכבותיהם, ויקומו לקץ הימים לחיותם, ונאמר אמן.
يتجدل ويتقدس شمي ربا بعلما دبرا كرعوتي ويمليخ ملخوتي ويسمح فرقاني ويقرب مشيحي بحي يخون وبيوم يخون وبحي دخول بيت إسرائيل بعغلا وبزمان قريب ويمروا أمين
أمين.
يهي شمي ربا مبوراخ لعلام والعلمي علميا يتبراخ ويشتبع ويتبقر ويترمم ويتنسي ويتهدر ويتعلي ويتهلل שמלכות שבריחו.
אמן.
לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה ותשבחתה ונחמתה, ואמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה חיים, ושבע וישועה ונחמה ושזבה ורפואה וגאולה, וסליחה וכפרה ורווח והצלה לנו ולכל עמו ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא ברחמיו ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
I was asked to sing a song that I think encapsulates tonight, and not only tonight, and not only the last 7 months, not only the last 76 years, not only the last 80 years, but the last 3,500 years. And the chorus of the song is Kulanu Am Echad. We are all one nation. ללא מילים, ללא תחושות, אין מנוס ממחשבות, יש פה קרע לא מוסבר, איך שרים כשהלב נשבר. אני פה מול החדשות, לא מעכל את הדמעות. אם אנחנו עם נבחר, איך נחרד גורל אכזר, ואין תשובות. ערפל כבד נחת עכשיו, למי פונים? הנשמה פצועה בקרב, שמע ישראל אומרים יחדיו. עוד לא עבדה תקוותנו להיות חופשי בארצנו. שמע ישראל, כולנו עם אחד. עוד לא עבדה אבדה תקוותנו, להיות חופשי בארצנו. שמע ישראל, כולנו עם אחד. אי אפשר לתאר במילים את הצבאות, הנפש צוח, הרצים לרקוד, לא רוצים עוד לראות אמהות שבוכות. מה כבר ביקשנו? בשקט לחיות, אין לנו ארץ אחרת. אם האדמה פה בוערת, אז די לפילוג, די לשנאה, מסתכלים עלינו, מנצלים תחושה. זה זמן לאהוב, לחפיץ את התקווה, להרים את הראש, לחייך חזרה, כי כולנו אחים, לא רק במלחמה. עם ישראל זו אותה משפחה, אנחנו ננצח ואין פה ספקות, בהיסטוריה ניצחנו בכל הקרבות, אבל השונאים, יאללה ביי, עם ישראל חי. עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו, להיות חופשי בארצנו. שמע ישראל, כולנו עם אחד. תשירו איתי, sing along. עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו, להיות חופשי בארצנו. שמע ישראל, כולנו עם אחד. עם אחד, עם אחד. שמע ישראל, כולנו עם אחד. עם אחד, עם אחד. כולנו, כולנו עם אחד. Oh Canada, terre de nos aïeux, tant franc et saint, de fleurons glorieux. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God